and welcome on the Esoteric Software stream. My name is Erika and today we're going to be rigging an amazing art by Mattia Rangoni. We're going to be doing an advanced face rig today, and it's available also for you for download if you want to follow along and try to rig as I am rigging. And I think it's gonna be so exciting because I never got to rig on stream this sort of advanced setups. So I'm looking forward to show you something more interesting in regards to lips, eyes, because usually we've done paintings or we've done like sort of cartoony characters. This one is a lot more realistic and it's already divided in pieces, so hear how happy I am. I of course already imported these using the PSD import that we now have inside Spine, which by the way you can find by clicking on the Spine logo, then pressing import PSD, and then you just import these. That's what I clicked. First thing first, notice how the hat is divided in 3 parts so that we can animate it nicely, see these parts overlap. Then for the fringe we have tons of pieces, maybe even too many. We're gonna see if we're going to group them or use them as they are. The face is actually a single piece with little holes for the eyes, and we even have separate eyelids for the closed version of them. Okay, these are actually teeth, but they're in basically the same color of the inside of the mouth, so it's red. You can see that this was done by a professional. And we have separate pupils. This is also separate, the ribbon and the back parts here. It's just enough, so it's not gonna be too complex in terms of images. It's going to be more complex in terms of how we are going to push this rig. It's very clear what the shape of things are, so I hope that you'll find them also useful and easier to follow along for this reason. When Mattia painted this, it was as a study, but it was such a good study that I asked if I could actually rig this, and he allowed me to. So that's the reason why this character is actually only a headshot. But still, we can do many things with these. I'm going, as usual, to start by rigging the features of the face so they can be functional at first, and then we're gonna pour some magic in it so it can also do some nice 3D rotation, and then we're gonna add controls so it can be controlled by external tools like the one that allows the webcam to control your rig. So that's the idea. So I'm in setup mode, I selected the create tool, and I'm going to create the bones. I said first bone down here. Can I use the neck and this part here? Yeah, so I'm going to use that. Okay, so create setup. I'm going to create that first bone. Then here I'm going to create a second bone. This is the neck, but I could actually rename it to something else afterwards because I actually want these to be my neck bone. Now this is a nice placement, and probably I could place it a tad higher than that if we hold Control, Command Mac while creating the images. Then we'll see the outline, which makes it easier to understand the shape of what's under, that maybe it's covered by other art. I'm going to create the bone that starts from here. The overlap between the face and the neck is this, so I think I'm gonna aim for it to start from around here. It can rotate like this. I'm gonna set up at first a usual setup that can rotate on itself like this. And for this, if you don't know what it is, I recommend you to watch the 2.5D basics video, the one that has all the Christmas packages on it, where I explain it in depth with various examples on something simpler. Now I'm going to create for that a bone on the tip of the nose that's gonna act as our controller, so I'm gonna rename it to face control. Alright, then one in the back, which I can place wherever I want actually. So I could place it here on the tip of the hat. So I'm gonna place it here to represent the back, but it could be anywhere. And this is gonna be face inverse. Not as a child of face control, we're gonna reparent it to face. Then I want an intermediate bone that will control the features of the face at the same speed for the mouth, the eyes, which are the important parts that I need for these to really work. So I'm going to select once again the face bone, and in the middle here I'm going to create the face holder because it holds the rest of the bones that are needed for this setup. So as the children of this bone, I'm going to create some more bones. Now, so far, nothing has changed from a basic setup, which is very good. I'm going to hide some of the hair here for now. I press H to hide them. And I'm going to reactivate them all at once afterwards by pressing Command or Control H. Okay, so they are back. Right now I want them hidden so I can see better the face. I'm going to create the bone here to control the eyebrows. So I'm going to create at first this simple setup, and then I'm going to see if I want to complicate it, maybe by allowing the eyebrows to change shape. But we want to start externally and then going inwards. I think it's enough for now to have a bone to hold the eye so that if I push it much on one side or the other, I am still able to squash just that part. And I could actually parent the eyebrows also to that so that they get scaled by the same amount, and that would be placed in here. So I'm gonna call it IR, then eye bone that will control here the top eyelid, which I can give it a length or not. It's the same actually. If I give it a length, then I'm able to control a little bit the angle of these. Not like it's necessary. So I could also just make it this way. And another one for the lower eyelid. So this is going to be eyelid top R, and this is eyelid bottom R. Let's also add a bone to control the pupil and the iris. It's gonna control both. So I'm gonna select at first the pupil and then the iris, and voila, that's done. Then I'm going to do the same also on the other side. As said, if I'm being lazy, I'm going to duplicate here these bones, so I'm just gonna move them and place them like this and then replace the names. Okay, I'm gonna delete this. So I'm gonna parent these and the other iris here, and then I'm gonna take these ones and rename them automatically. So I'm gonna go here, find and replace. Okay, I want to limit the scope to the 3 selection. I want to find R2 and replace it with L. Okay, and now they are all nicely named without needing to do it twice. For the bones of the mouth, we're gonna keep it simple at first. So I have to reselect this bone face holder. I selected the create tool. I'm still in setup mode, and I'm going to create a bone to be able to hold all of the pieces of the mouth, which I actually use mostly as a folder because it's not like I usually move it around. It's just for the ease of using this. Okay, so I'm gonna place it here. I'm gonna call this mouth holder. I'm gonna place a bone here and another bone on the other side, and then this one I'm going to call it mouth R, and this is gonna be mouth L. We're going to create a path system here on the lips to be able to control them, curl them, open and close them. On the topic of opening and closing a mouth, we can also already add another bone, which I'm gonna place, I think, on the lower edge of the lips. Now, in this amazing drawing, we actually have the mouth slightly open, but it's also fine to have like a separate lip image for the top, separate lip image for the bottom, it's drawn perfectly straight. Then it's even easier because this is gonna be slightly curved, but I figured that we could also work with this one. This is gonna be mouth top, and this is going to be mouth bottom, and this is going to allow us to control a little bit better the mouth. I don't think we have even the tongue, because otherwise we could have added a control also for the tongue. But something else that we could have to control a more humanoid, realistic sort of character is to avoid the anime effect of the lips moving but my chin not moving, which is basically like talking like that. We should also add some sort of control to control the chin and to deform the jaw so it follows with everything else. Makes sense, right? So we're going to select this again. So I'm going to add, maybe here on the chin, this jaw control. To set up the pieces that we're going to be needing a path that I'm going to parent to the mouth holder, so all the pieces of the mouth are gonna be in there. I'm gonna create a new path, and I'll call this mouth top, and I'm gonna make it start here and here. And then I'm gonna add another vertex here in the middle so that it can be controlled and follow precisely this bone. Okay, the closer we get it to the reference, the better it's gonna be, because it's gonna follow closer. And then I'm gonna create another one. Could even duplicate this one and just edit it a little bit. So I'll do just that. I'll call it mouth bottom. And then I'll edit this baby so it follows here instead and it overlaps with this area. If instead you're working on a straight version of the mouth, it's even simpler, because you just need to make literally a straight line, 2 straight lines with that dot in the middle so that you can obtain this sort of shape. We will need bones to be able to control these and get it to curl in a nice way. I'll do a simplified version of this mesh so that I literally only focus on the lips, so that then I can go back to the lips. And then I'll decide how many bones I want to control this based on how dense I made this mesh. Let's turn this into a mesh. We could still do like the whole face setup, just to get it out of the way, but not define it as much. So I'll edit this mesh. Let's see if tracing produces any valid result. I can work with this. I'm gonna accept it, but I'm going to clean it up. I'll need to isolate it and remove the vertices that are not doing useful stuff for me. In an ideal world, we actually should have parallel, like vertices hitting the same spots, so that we have it as symmetrical as possible, so it's easier to assign the same or similar weights on these. For this reason, I would love to get them to be at similar heights. So if this one is here, this one needs to be here. And I'm gonna focus on the lips, because we can always change the rest later. So where there's a corner, you can bet that there's gonna be a vertex. Okay, where does the opening here end? It's around here. Okay, that's a good spot for placing a vertex. Same here. We need to encapsulate these lips, we said, so we're gonna place one on each of the top maximum of these lips, and also at the bottom. Then here is where the lips end. It's this nice little dark spot. Okay, that's great. We can place a vertex there. The shadows are very helpful. So if we place the vertices where the shadows end, so actually the shadow is projecting this way, but if we want it to be symmetrical, we could actually move this so it encompasses the shadow, but it's actually symmetrical. Then just to continue with the chin, I think I'm gonna add a couple of vertices here. Okay, you can already see that there's like a sort of 2 parallel lines that start from here and go towards the end of the chin. And if you followed other streams where I did this, it's actually part of the same big project of creating some sort of map projection on a face where you imagine your character tearing up, and so you have these lines. How would a tear fall? And you have to imagine that line crossing the entirety of the face. Now it's very useful, and this is why I'm so happy that we have good art, to follow what the light and shadow suggests, to know where to create our vertices. See, it's basically following this line, and this tells you that you're doing a good job, and you can see that it crosses with this line around here. So if we place a vertex here, we're gonna control these separate zones with ease. Same thing here. Let's focus on the lips again. There's the middle here. I'm gonna place it on the border like this. I think I'm gonna place it above so that no transparent pixels are part of the mesh up and down. And then I'm gonna subdivide this so it can do a range of things. I'll do the same up above. Try to space them out so they follow, like they create a sort of line that does not go too much up and down. Okay, so that's our opening. Then we have to project these on the lips so they also can deform with the rest. Right now, this is not gonna form nicely for the lips. We have to define them a little bit better. So I'll ignore all of the vertices that I have here, and I'll focus instead on mapping out the lights and shadows. Maybe something like this. Probably I would do something like this and try to make them even as possible. And then I'll add also here this, so that the lips also here can compress, expand, etc. I'm trying to not go too much overboard with the amount of stuff that I add around here, because in case it's not gonna work nicely, I can always add more vertices later and have Spine do automatic calculations for me rather than me having to do that. I may need to add more vertices, but for now I feel like I already have a ton, because I have 78 just for this area. This is gonna have tons of vertices by the end, so I'll stop here. This needs to be a tad higher, I think. I'm going to add some null bones. I think I'm gonna create them under mouth holder, but I'll give them a unique name. Mouth, top, path. Okay, and then 1, and I'll duplicate it 5 times. I'm going to duplicate these once again and move it down, maybe. There. Well, if we want them to be, I don't know, sort of organized, I'm gonna place them here. These I'm going to rename to mouth, bottom, path, and instead of 6, I'm gonna rename it to 1, duplicate it 5 times. Maybe just to avoid confusing you, I'm going to place them to the sides just so you understand. Although this step is completely unnecessary, because we're going to bind them afterwards to the mouth. It's just so you see that we actually have this number of bones. We're going to select the 5 top bones, and we're going to create a new path constraint and bind them to this path. Mouth up, good name. Okay, what happened? They all collapsed in this corner here. So take out your calculators, because this is where we need to start calculating things. Here is the advanced part of this tutorial. So what happens is that we want these bones to be evenly spaced on our path. We want them to always reach the end of the path. So for the spacing, instead of length, we're going to set it to percentage. Then spacing divides the path by an even amount, spaces these bones up evenly. So what do we need to do? We take 100, which is the entire length of the path, and we divide it by the number of bones that we have. How many bones did we have? 5. So I'm gonna divide 100 by 5, and the result is 20. So if I type 20, I'm going to have them evenly spaced like this. Let's do the nice thing of coloring these. So you see, 1 is here, 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 and there's not 1 at the end, because they expect to have a length. Of course they do. So if they had a length of, say, 20, then you would see that they sort of aim to be there, which is cool. But then again, I wonder, maybe 5 is not enough. Maybe we need more bones. Okay, let's do this process again. So here I had this. I'm gonna duplicate both, move them to the side, both, move them to the side again. Now I have 7 of them. New path constraint, I bind them to the top, set the length to percentage. Now I can't use 20, because then one of them remains outside. So instead, I think I'll divide it by 6 so that the last one actually ends at the end. So 100 divided by 6, 16.66666.6666. Okay, and now they're evenly spaced. Let's color them. Let's color these two. And now let's do the same also for the ones at the bottom. So bottom, new path constraint, I target the bottom, percentage 16.6666. Fantastic. Okay, we have the bones, they are placed. We're gonna use the bones that are outside of these to control the bones that are inside the path. So these are controller bones. I'm gonna change their icon to something that looks like a mouth. Oh, it's oriented the wrong way. Can I rotate it? Okay, now they all point in the direction that I wanted. So I'm going to be using the mouth-shaped bones to move the mouth and these to control the mesh. I want to change these instead of tangent, which was sitting so nicely here, to change scale, so it points in the direction of the next bone. Is this what I want? Change scale or tangent? I actually like tangent. I'm gonna leave tangent for now. We can always change this later. No, we can't. I like how they are adhering here, so I'm gonna keep it this way. This is gonna be it. If we want to reverse this, it's gonna be more difficult, and that's what makes this more advanced. We need to be a bit more sure about the choices that we make. Now comes the part where we connect the mesh to all of these bones and all of this setup that was created. So what do we do here? We're going to select the face mesh, open the weights tool so that the weights view opens, which can also be found here, and I'm going to bind this mesh so it follows the necessary bones. Now I'm going to bind this so it follows at first this. Actually, I should start binding it from the bone that is the closest to us, the bone that is the further away. So actually the closest one is gonna be face control. Then we're gonna actually have the lips bones, then the very size bones, then the jaw and the control here, and then lastly this one. But since we're just focusing on the lips for now, because I'm gonna add more bones at some point for the eyes, so I'm just gonna focus on the necessary parts for the mouth, which are going to be these bones. I want the mouth holder to be able to control overall the mouth, and I'm actually gonna need to add do I? No, I don't. So I don't need to add these ones because these I'm only using as controls. I will need to add those colored bones, so these ones. At first the top ones and then the bottom ones, so that I can control my face using those. Maybe I'll also add the jaw, why not? And the inverse one. Okay, tons of stuff. Now, spine will attempt to set some weights for us. Let's get rid of those. See, because each of these vertices basically weighs too much stuff. Super confusing. We're gonna ignore that. We're gonna set them manually. So I'll set at first everything to face holder, because I like that as the blank slate for this area of the face, and I'm not doing any 3D stuff at the moment, so that's good enough to use to have mixed weights. Then for the mouth area, because I want to have something that I can control at once, have similar weights and so on, I'm gonna set this to be 100% mouth holder at first, and then we're going to start assigning the weights on these parts of the mouth so it follows. Now, we could assign them like blindly here in setup. Now is where we switch to animate mode, so we can actually see something happen, see the fruits of all this work. I am going to move my controls, which so far mouth bottom, mouth top, etc. are not connected to the paths. So we're going to have to do one last step, which is what makes this setup so complicated to remember. You'll probably have to go over this again if you look at the video. I'm gonna be moving this to ensure that it can be moved. So I'll move this like this. I'll open the mouth basically. I'll place it in a smiling position, basically as I've been doing on other versions of these. And then, as you see, I move the controls, but they're not doing anything. That's not great. So to connect them so that the path follows what the bones tell them, I'm going to have to select the top path and bind it so it follows said bones. So I'm going to select these 3 bones, and for the bottom path I'm gonna do the same. I select the path, I press bind, and I bind it to mouth L, mouth R, and mouth bottom, and press bind again. So paths can be bound just as meshes can be bound. And now we see already some changes in our animation. So I'll create a simple animation now, and I'm gonna play this. You see that now the path is doing things. Of course, the weights are wrong, so we have to fix the weight for the paths themselves. It's gonna be super easy, so let's select the top one. We don't want the top controlled only by mouth R. I'm going to select this and set it completely to mouth top. And then this one and set it completely to mouth L. Okay, and now it's doing a better job. Then for the bottom here, same thing. This should be the R. This should be center bottom, and that one, okay. Once. Smoothing was a terrible decision, so instead I'm gonna stop at an extended version of these, and I'm gonna control them so they follow better, maybe like this. Here, how about this? So they point where the mouth is going. That could be a good idea. But of course, the mesh itself here is not following the various parts yet. And that's where now we start weighting these parts. So we could stop at this frame, then select these various vertices of the mouth, select the various mouth top, mouth bottom here, and then tell it to automatically calculate the weights just for these. Let's see. The weights are not great. I'm gonna prune. Yeah, actually pruning improves things. Okay, I'm gonna start with this just because pruning gives me a base, and I like that. And I'm gonna refine from there. Now I'm going to change the weights until I get a nice shape for this path here. I'm also gonna add another little animation frame where the mouth, instead of opening, closes, like if it can close nicely or not. Oh, see, now the fact that it's following is already a lot better than top version. Let's close this. Okay, the fact that I can't get it to be nice and straight means that I may want to adjust, or maybe not. I mean, it's not bad. So I may want to adjust the weights until they do what I want. Starting from a straight line actually is better, because then I don't have these sort of problems. So let me refine a little bit. Here I have this situation. If I wanted to go in a straight line, what should I need to do? I should select the weights tool at first and get this. Not doing this, but maybe, yeah, staying like this actually. Yeah, that's actually better. Cool, good to know. And now let's adjust the weights. So we can already see that the mouth is mouthing. Okay, I have to start assigning also the rest of the weights to the various parts of the mouth, and I think that will make everything fall in place. And I'm glad that I did not use too many vertices on that, because it's already confusing as is. Part 1, you are going to get these weights. Actually, let's start from here, so it's easier because they are going to overlap. They are the same bone, so it does not matter. What are you? Bottom. And I keep changing the weights until it looks, okay, like this whole mouth is distorting with it. I'm gonna show you another trick. If I like the weights that I have here and I just want to propagate them here, this is new from 4.2, you just have to press Ctrl C and then you can paste it. Copy and paste. Okay, yeah, now it works. Here I'm gonna copy this, paste it here. That's actually a very speedy way of doing it. This should be 100%, 100%, 100%. Okay, so one side is starting to look good, the most open. I actually also like to add a little bit of influence on the tissue around, so it's doing this, so it looks more natural. I need to use the jaw bone for it. I can already assign this to be 100% on the jaw, and this to be like an in-between. And then I'm gonna control this with the jaw. You did not paste the weights. Paste them. Copy. It's easier when it's not moved, because I get a better understanding of where things are supposed to be. Okay, that's good. Let's see. Okay, a little bit of influence also here. I'm going to parent to the jaw the bottom of the teeth. So I'll press P as parent and parent it here. Then in this test animation, instead of having these, I'm going to move the jaw down. I think I'm gonna attempt to connect the jaw to the lips. New, transform constraint. And I'll get the jaw to do what the mouth bottom is doing. Mouth bottom, jaw. And I want it to... I'm gonna match the current position so it does not move. And I'm gonna get this to translate. Let's run with 60. 60, 60. That's cool. The nose should actually also be affected, because when we talk, the nose is also a little bit affected by the movement of the mouth. So I think I'm gonna add a little bit of influence also here. To top, I think it's this, and here I think it's gonna be this. Not more, because otherwise I'm gonna get too much of a distortion. Okay. Then I think that for the top part, because it was a test animation, I moved it to an incredible degree. So I don't think it's necessary to move it that much anymore. I probably can dial it back. It's orienting nicely. Let's do some more tests. Can I make her sad? What if I want to curve it? Yes, it works! Okay, now I thought I needed to add some extra controls. Turns out that's it. The mouth can work like this. Well, I'm really happy. I sort of want to have a mock-up animation where it simulates like she's talking. Just make it a tad faster. And then when it opens again, let's see. Maybe instead of being sad, it is... It's doing this. Maybe smiling. I need to close the mouth, I think. Let's see. It looks like she is saying stuff. I think I'm gonna leave this in a preview view where she has hair. Ah yeah, I forgot. I could actually show the hair again. We got this part done. It probably makes sense to also do the eyes. So when I'm doing anime eyes and I care about having a straight line, then I use a path also for the eyes to orient them better. I'm thinking that given how angular the art is in this area, maybe I don't need to do that, and maybe I can skip the paths and just use these simple bones to not overcomplicate things. Let's edit the mesh so that we can also go and work on the eyes, and so probably I'll complete the mesh on the rest of the face. Okay, there it is, and then I'll edit it. Okay, for these I'll follow the same principles when I'm creating any sort of face. So I'll place the vertices at the sides of the features. So that's here, 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 and I think here and here. Okay. Then I'll slice in threes what I have here. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And then I'll create some extra vertices for this specific tile. Okay, I think that's good. Then I'll also propagate these below. So if I do it randomly like this, not following the lines, I feel like I'll get a worse result. And I think that it's better to follow the lines a bit closer. So the more overlap you get, the better. So here I'm propagating the lines that I'm seeing from here and making sure that these are not crossed either. Okay, I'm placing in the corners the vertices like this. Okay, I care about it following the lines and the strokes that I'm seeing in this drawing. I'll place it also on top. I'll divide this in threes again. I'll have to sort of make sure... Okay, here the drawing isn't telling us much, but usually there's the forehead area that should be like separated from the rest, starting from the side. Like how you divide the front of the face from the side of the face, it's around here. And so I may add a couple of vertices here to help with that. And usually we also have like a line here that I'm going to use as the line of light to control this area above the eyebrows. Now here the drawing again is not very clear, so I'm basing this on experience. This usually helps us. Now if you also make it symmetrical instead of what I'm doing, then you'll get even better results. These are useless though. They are gonna be hidden. It's to let you understand. Then for the bottom of the face, we're gonna have... So there's the eye socket that we're gonna outline. We're gonna also... you can see it very well here in the change from light to dark. That's usually where we want to place some vertices as well. Then here we're gonna follow, look at this very chiseled cheeks. So they have this very nice stroke. It's easier to know where to place vertices in such cases. I'm gonna place this one here. I like the flow of the vertices for this, so I'm gonna keep it this way. Okay, I think this separates enough of the jaw from the rest. The more I get it to have like some nice flow of lines, the better, the easier it's gonna be also for me. Do I need this one? Okay, I'll try to get this at the same height. This could be it. Let's not forget about the nose. Okay, let's define the nose. Let's go around the nostrils. Let's go around another part of the nostrils. Here is where the nose sort of ends. Maybe a little bit more here, so it's symmetrical. Then here, there's this super clear change from light to dark. Are we not gonna use that? We have to, basically. So here we add vertices. Here the nose is nice and straight and doing this. Maybe we even connect these like this. And then for the tip of the nose, to get it to have like a nice shape that goes upwards or not, we add these vertices like this, and then we have like full control of these. I think that's right. What if I leave it like this? I think that's not right. Okay, so that should be the shape. I'll show it to you dimmed. Maybe let's get also the bones out of the way. Okay, so this could be the shape for our entire mesh. I see that for the new vertices that I added, mouth parts started influencing parts of the weights that they should not have touched. So I'm going to set them again to 100% of the face holder. Same here. I want to see it animated again. I don't see any weird movement where it's not supposed to happen. Now we're gonna get the eyes to also be controlled by the bones that are supposed to control them. Okay, I'll bind them. At first, I, R, I, L. Then this, then these need to be above, these need to be at the bottom. The pupil actually does not have to be bound because the pupil only controls the pupil, which is a separate image. Okay, then I need to reorder these parts because face inverse and actually face holder should be at the bottom, so that changes all the colors all around. I'll do it like this. I'll get this to do the eye blink, so I'll translate basically this down so it meets around the lacrimal duct. This above like this. When you close the eyes, it happens around that height. Same here. Around here, around here. I'll add the missing keys. Copy them so it can open and close. Do something like this. Maybe I'll also apply curves, so it's doing this. Then I'll start applying the weights. Weights for an eye blink are super simple. Weights tool. And then I'll start by assigning 100% here of the blue bone. Okay, so it starts closing the eye. Then here, we want it to be affected, but only a little bit. Here at the bottom, I want it to be influenced instead by the orange part. And this actually, I don't think it's moved. Then for these, I'll get it influenced a bit more. But it's deforming. There's like a triangle. I don't like what is happening here. I'm gonna change the flow. Okay, I think this is gonna be better. Yeah, so it's not deforming as much. Then here, I'll need to do something similar. These two are going to be affecting completely the eye, so it starts closing. I have a similar problem also on this side, so I'm gonna change the mesh so that it's actually attached like this. Yeah. And then I'll get this part to be influenced a little bit by that bone. And then for the bottom, I'll also select these ones and assign 100%. Okay, that one is not closing, whereas this one was. So I'll need to go where I made the eye close. It's the top one that isn't low enough. Probably needs to be like this. Here, this one is too strong, so instead I'll apply more of the eye influence of the eye holder, IL. Okay, so it gets a nicer curve. I'll keep looking at it opening and closing. This also feels a bit too strong. Okay. Where are the eyelashes? Okay, there they are. So I'll parent these here, and I'll parent these ones here. Then I'll need to turn them into meshes. So I'll turn this into a mesh, edit the mesh. Maybe I can just generate a couple of vertices like this. Yeah, and then I'll just, whatever, I'll trace it. I'll just get it to do this and then bind it so it follows the right bones, which are IR, eyelid, top R. For now, just these two. Then when I'll do the 3D effect, I'll likely also add the rest. So I'll go in the version of the eye where it is closed and I'll reattach the eyelashes basically. Here too. Oh, it's doing something horrible. I know. Okay, it's gonna be stronger in the middle, less strong on the sides. Let's see. Okay, a lot better. And again, let's see it without bones. Feels okay. Okay, then there's the fact that you see these hideous versions of the eye, they get so distorted in here. So for these, well, in this case we are actually lucky because there's enough eyelid that it's not really a problem, but sometimes we get some characters that have literally 2 pixels between the open version of the eye and the eyelid is that small. So for those cases you may want to instead have a replacement eyelid that is closed, that you can fade in at the right moment to cover the ugliness of the open version. I'm going to show you so that in case you need, you can use it. So for these, I'll turn this into a mesh. I'll add the mesh and add maybe a vertex here and a couple of them here, so that we're able, maybe also here, to anchor these parts a little bit better. There, I think this follows the best, probably something like this, so it follows the shape of the eye. I'm not bothering to cut away the pixels in this case. So these I'll parent to the eye, respective eye. Then there's another one that I'll also parent here and that I'll activate, turn into a mesh, edit this mesh. Let's see, can I do it like this? I'm going to bind it, but I don't bind it here. I'm going to bind it on the version of the eye that is closed in a specific animation. So this is, once again, another advanced sort of technique, because it's something that beginners usually get wrong. You have to remember some stuff. I also have some eyelashes for this. Where are my other eyelashes? Oh, here they are. There, version that is closed, and here is the other that is closed. We're going to see this other advanced part, which is binding outside of setup mode. How does that work? We create another animation, an animation where just the eyes are closed, which could be these. I'm gonna select a frame where I see that the eye is actually closed. I select it. Okay, here, that's the version where it is closed. And I'm gonna copy the keyframes here. I'm gonna create then a new animation, which are called setup closed eyes, so that I know that here I'm gonna have these, so in case I need to do some changes, I can revert back to a previous situation. I'll select the meshes and activate them in this animation. Okay, so that then I can go back in setup and not have them active. Then in animation, I'll also add a key here for the closed version of the eyelashes, so it's easier to copy and paste, and I can deactivate it here. Cool. Then in this version they are closed and everything is set so they look like they are actually closed. If we get the bones to match with the position that we have here, then we're gonna get the best result. So I should actually push this a little bit more. I like this. Let's say that this is my closed eye version. Then what I can do is bind this. So the eyelid top and the IR are affecting this, and I'm setting the weights this way. On the outside, it's going to be fully controlled by the eye. On the inside, it's gonna be fully controlled by this eye top instead. Then on here, I'm gonna bind it to IL and IL top as well. And same, this course here, this is going to be fully controlled by IL, and in the middle, it's gonna be fully controlled by the top. Then when I'm in the other animation, let's say that I want to make use of that, I'm going to attach it, so I can also verify how this is doing. And I'm gonna attach these. You see that they clip, they sort of clip, they are doing this, but they look nice when they are closed. Let's see, do they look like this version? Okay, here they aren't. I'm also gonna bind the eyelid top. So it's gonna be here. Here it is. I'll bind the eyelid top also here. I have to also attach here the eyelashes and the eyelids. And when it's here, I need to change the weights so that it's not doing this ugly thing, but it looks more like an in-between version, or like this maybe. So it's more something like this. So then it can lower and it looks nice. So you see, it arrives and it goes away in a bit of a clippy way. So to make it real smooth, real nice, what we're going to be doing is fade it in and out. So I'm going to select the closed versions, okay, because this is difficult to see. I'm going to select, maybe filter on slots, find the closed ones here, so I can key them more easily. They were actually all here. And then I'm going to make sure that they are fully visible here. So I'll key the color. Then I want them to be actually invisible. So to have transparent alpha here. And also here, I'm going to turn them basically off. You can play a little bit with the color specifically, so that maybe it appears at the right moment. Let's go on color. Okay, when this is done, so it matches very precisely, then it seems basically seamless. So because I got this part to distort a bit more, actually it may not be necessary. So I'm gonna give this back here to give this back the influence here as well, because it did not take into account that. Okay, and then in theory it should look a bit more natural. I think it would need a tad more shading in general. With a different source image, it could work better. Yeah, because it loses too much of the shadow. I wonder if I could tint them a little bit to get a better result in the version. For just the closed eyelids, darker, a bit more seamless. Anyway, so this was the second trick. I'm gonna remove these. I could do maybe a separate eye blink animation. I could just copy everything that I had in here, but then only leave, so for example, mouth animation, I'll delete them. Mouth top, delete them, and now I only have the eye animation. Okay, so it's ready to use and copy paste. Then I can play with the timings. Another important part when we are blinking the eyes is that there's a bit of movement also here with the eyebrows. So I'm going to move these a little bit and then key their rotation and apply curves. So in theory they're gonna move a little bit, and then I'm gonna get them to do the movement. Select the face and start applying the weight. Basically here I'll select this and assign 100%, and here I'll get an in-between. Here I'll assign a little bit, 29, okay. Then here 100%, here a little bit less, and here around that same number on the other side. I would say that here in the middle it should have a little bit more of face shoulder, so it's not moving as much, especially down here. And then this same movement that I had here, I can use it on the other animation that I had. I can paste this here, and now it's all moving together. Good. This is actually, I think, enough for a session, and then next session we can do the 3D effect. This is the result for today, and this is the first part. Then in a second part we can do the 3D effect and maybe add some animation to the hair, deal with that, and then maybe focus also on getting some more controls so it works with a webcam or can be more interactive. We're going to see. Hope you found these interesting. We saw a couple of techniques that I've been wanting to show you for the longest time, especially the mouth rig. Thank you so much for staying with me until now for today's stream. I hope I will see you also next Tuesday, where we'll complete the 3D part of this character and add some more interesting things like hair moving. See also how to deal with a hat to make a 3D effect on a hat and other parts, get them to react and connect and everything. I will see you again next Tuesday. Bye bye!